Welcome back to the program. A growing number of parents with a lack of faith in our underperforming education system are taking matters into their own hands. Joining me live now to discuss this further is Dr. Selina Samuels, the Chief Learning Officer at Cluey Learning. Selina, thanks for your time this afternoon.
You're welcome.
What have these parents decided to do if they are taking matters into their own hands?
Well, look, we've seen a lot of evidence of parents looking for additional educational support, and that takes many forms. Certainly we have a large number of parents looking for tutoring, of course, and there is also, if you walk into any bookshop, you will see the racks and racks of NAPLAN prep books, of comprehension textbooks. So I think that parents are feeling that relying solely on the education system, and that's not just the state system, but you know, it includes everything, is not really giving their children the support that they feel their children need.
How concerning is that they have lost that faith in all forms of the education system?
Well, I think when people lose faith in any kind of system, it is always concerning. But I think it tells us a slightly different story, actually. For a very long time, people have been saying we are really not preparing our children for the jobs that they're actually going to have. So for a long time, this is not new, people have been saying the jobs that young people will do have not yet been invented. And in fact, it's not just young people, it's true of me too. So things are changing very rapidly. And so on one hand, we agree that that is a concern, that is a reality. But on the other hand, parents aren't seeing that the school is changing very much. So school looks a lot like it did when they went to school, but at the same time, they're always being told about how important it is for children to be skilled in different for different kinds of jobs. So I think there's a discrepancy there, which is what is concerning them.
Yeah, that was actually part of my next point. The research has shown that over 60% of senior pupils say that the schooling system is not doing enough to set them up for jobs of the future. Additionally, over 70% believe that schools aren't fully addressing an unpredictable job market.
That's right.
How concerning is that?
Well, I think it tells us that young people are very clear in their own minds that they need to have a different set of skills. And in fact, we should be encouraged that they're able to articulate that they are keen to have those skills, that they're ambitious, they're looking ahead. And certainly we hear at Cluey from our students that they are very aware that while they want to go to university in many cases or to do further study, they know that they need to be adaptable, that they need to be able to shift and pivot based on the kind of life that they encounter.
Yeah, I guess I think another thing that might come into effect here, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, but it's also a lot more competitive in certain sectors. And it used to be that having a university degree would be a bit of a competitive edge. Now, so many graduating students go into university degrees that's almost in some industries the absolute norm and the absolute bar of what you have to have. Is tutoring and doing this extracurricular kind of study that parents are looking into, is that one other way that they're trying to get ahead?
Absolutely. They're looking for ways to support their children so that they give them the edge, make it more likely that they'll be able to get into the university course that they want to do, but also because, and this is an interesting statistic actually as well, that 1 in 3 parents say that they don't feel equipped to support their child at home. So it's partly because they do feel that the admission to university is very competitive and the world of work is very competitive, but they also don't feel themselves equipped to provide the support that perhaps they feel that they ought to provide, that perhaps their parents provided them. So it's a combination of competition but also feeling themselves unable to provide that support for many, many reasons. So they're looking for tutoring to provide the kind of, I think, that one-to-one support, which interestingly research tells us also is a really important intervention for all learners. So it's a combination of things, I think. We know that, for example, class sizes are big in classrooms in most schools, and studies are telling us, the Gonski 2.0 report said as well, how important that personalised interaction between teacher and student is. And I feel that a lot of parents and a lot of students don't feel that they're getting that attention in the classroom that they feel will really give them the opportunity to thrive.
Yeah, absolutely. It's very hard to achieve that with the size of the classes that we are seeing these days. Selina, in the next decade, it's predicted that there will be a more holistic focus, not only on intelligence such as, IQ, but also emotional intelligence, social intelligence and adaptability. How will this change the way we teach?
Well, I think AQ, or adaptability quotient, is very interesting. We've spoken, of course, for a long time about IQ, and then emotional intelligence has become quite an important part of the way that we think about equipping young people with the skills they'll need in the workplace. But adaptability quotient is very interesting. It's connected to something that may be familiar to people, growth mindset, fixed mindset, the idea that young people need not just to learn stuff, to have knowledge, but to learn how to learn and to learn to be to manage and to own their learning. Now, adaptability is interesting because it's about equipping young people, equipping all of us really, with the ability to adapt to an uncertain future. And those skills of understanding yourself as a learner, knowing how to ask questions, knowing how to direct your attention, knowing how to get help. These are all part and parcel of that adaptability, which we feel will be so important in this future that we're looking at.
I'm pretty sure that this is outside the realm of what you cover, but I am intrigued to know your opinion. A lot of people, I think, talk about the curriculum being wrong in the sense of not having enough practical information. No one teaches us how to do tax return. No one teaches us how to change a car tyre, those sorts of things. Do you see the education system going more in a practical way as you see those other changes developing in the next decade?
Well, what you say is true, and certainly from our survey, a lot of senior students said that they wish that they'd learned how to do personal finance, that
really
sort
important.
of thing. Yeah. And look, I think that every adult in this world has probably stopped and thought, why wasn't I taught how to do a tax return? I think there's been a lot of attempts to incorporate what we'd call sort of vocational training into the schoolroom, into the ordinary curriculum. And I think there are constant attempts to change the curriculum to make it more in line with the way that we actually live as adults. I think that perhaps the focus needs to be less on those bits and pieces that we need to know and more on how we actually equip students with the ability to learn, because they are going to have to teach themselves things. They're going to have to keep on learning, whether it's how to do a tax return, whether it's how to manage a business. More and more people will be, small business owners. They need to learn how to learn. So I think that we need to place more emphasis, perhaps less on only thinking about the stuff, the pieces of information that students need to know, and think more about focusing them on the process of learning and developing that skill to learn and to continue to learn, because that's what they're going to have to keep doing.
Well, that comes into that adaptability.
Absolutely.
Thanks so much for your time, Selina. Some really great insight this afternoon.
You're very welcome, Charlotte.
Well,